Hello and welcome back to Let the Rest Burn with Coco Nelson. I am here with Christopher Lewis. He's a dating and relationship coach. He is also the host of his own podcast, Dating Intelligence. And I met Christopher in Florida at PodFest, and I cannot tell you how happy I am that we had that chance meeting. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today, Chris.
I'm going to have to use this intro. What's up, people? Let's do it right today.
You're right.
Hi, Colleen. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. No, this is an honor. I have listened to your podcast. I've, watched you work, and you have the most fascinating conversations. So I can't wait to see more of what you're doing. But today we are here to talk about you and your amazing self.
I was hoping we're going to talk more about you on today. That's why I'm here.
Oh, you are welcome to do that, but I'll flip it right back.
Okay. All right. Let's get me out of the way, and then we'll jump into you, because this is the fun stuff. It's weird for me to be on the opposite side of this. So
isn't it? I know. Yeah. I hear you. Oh, okay. Okay. So my question I ask everybody is, what did you have to burn along the way, along your path of life, in order to become the fully expressed version of yourself that you are today? And what maybe do you still need to burn in order to become even more fully expressed?
Ooh, I like this. Well, this is probably an easy one for me. One thing that I truly pride myself in, and what I try to tell everyone, is the fact that for myself, I had to let my ego go. And I did that at a very young age. It's one of those things where and by the way, we need our ego for confidence. We need our ego for, just moving forward and just that thing. But, like that energy that we put out there, especially as a male. But I let people know that there's one thing that I pride myself in, and I say I have no ego. And the reason why I say that is because it allowed me to find out what my true authentic self is and what it means to me. And for me, it's just learning how to be aware, compassionate, and just, I'm in tune with everything. And that's something that you have to be in order to really, really know about others, to get along with others, and just, quite frankly, just to appreciate the humans in general. As a kid, I always told myself, one of the things that I always wanted to do was just, I always found, for some reason, Colleen, I know what my worth is, and I know what my place is, why I'm put on this earth. And that's to make a difference with people in general. Me being a Black male, growing up in an all white society, I have to say, for myself, my mom, dad, my dad's a doctor, my mom's a psychologist. We were considered the Huxtables growing up in all this in our world. So being upper middle class and not being around many Blacks as well, I had to really learn how to adapt and to find my way in that society. And I did that quite well by just allowing myself just to be my true authentic self, allowing myself to learn and to adapt. And that's basically it. So I try to let a lot of people out there know, especially a lot of men in general, just that you have, in order to understand women better, you need to let go of your ego. Because when the ego gets involved, we, as I like to say, we get our butt hurt. When we get upset, or we get our egos bruised, and we don't know how to navigate that sometimes as men. So I try to put that out there as much as I can to a lot of people. And quite frankly, it just makes the world a lot better place to be in.
Oh, I do love that you speak to this in your world, because I think a lot of us are navigating dating, and I want to get into what the ego actually is here in a minute, because I do think it's good to clarify that word is thrown around in so many different capacities. So I want to hear your definition for it, so we can really dig into what does it mean to actually let go of your ego, and how do we actually do that? Because it's challenging. So how would you define what the ego is?
So ego for me, it's like, so I'll give you what I feel like I pride my ego on. And it's just, once again, I said, it's just knowing your worth and knowing that you're confident. That's what we need, ego. And ego is something that, it can put you in any room and just make sure that you're just as good as anyone else. That's something that I pride myself on. Now, the negative side of ego for me is when we use it for, and I hate using this word, but I'm going to use it anyways, for evil. It's like I said, when people feel like they need to become something else when it's not going their way. And, a lot of people abuse it for certain things, as far as, like, once again, I'm going to use myself being a male. It's
Yeah.
one of those things where a lot of guys use it to put down others, to make
Okay.
themselves look better in front of others. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that that's something that should be used that way.
Oh, okay. I love that. So in the therapy world, we call that projection,
Okay.
right? So it's like it's you are taking this falsified version of yourself and you're projecting your shit onto other people in order to make you feel better, right? So this is like the ego I think about as like the personified self, the part of us that is very human, that is
Mm-hmm.
very like this is who I am, but it is not necessarily our intuition, our deeper knowing, our collective authentic soul, whatever you want to call it. It's this conglomerate of experiences that we've had since we were little, all kind of smushed together into this persona trying to live life as a human. So we need to be compassionate with that side of ourselves. We need to be
Mm-hmm.
understanding that this is just us trying to live in the world, but our ego should never actually be the one that is making the decisions and um, showing themselves when we are trying to connect and be intimate with people. But it
That's
is
correct.
oftentimes what we put on the forefront because it feels safest to do so.
Right. Yes, that's exactly true. And like you said, something that we put forward when we feel like we're insecure and we're scared
Mm-hmm.
about knowing, going any deeper, in all honesty,
Yes.
right? So I feel
Yes.
once again I always say, like, if you allow yourself just to remove your ego out of play and just allow yourself to really understand who you truly are or who you truly can be as a person,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, it just makes life easier. It's like your energy, it just projects your energy out there so much more. It just makes you just your worth, your worth so much more.
Mm-hmm.
You move along doing everything just more confidently. And as we say, what does they always say? There's like this quiet confidence that people should have. It never should have to be
Yes.
fully outright and showed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so how do we do this? My question to you is, Chris, in particular, how did you do this as a kid? Like you said, you grew up in a predominantly white community as
Hmm.
the Huxtables, right?
Yeah.
How did you check your ego here? That's a lot to face as a young man.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Well, first and foremost, if we backtrack, so the reason why I do what I do is because I tell everyone that I am an advocate for women. I'm a guy who just
Mm-hmm.
loves women, who knows women really well, and I want to teach women. I want to teach guys how to be better for women, but I also want
Mm-hmm.
women how to understand guys better because, quite frankly, we're all idiots, right? So that's something that I always say. I
Yes.
put myself in that category as well, even though I'm well beyond that, but I still put myself in that category. But growing up wise, growing up in a house full of women, trying to figure out
Mm-hmm.
and understand what my role is in a house full of women, my mom and two sisters,
Mm-hmm.
older and younger. I always felt like the minority even in that. So it
Yeah.
started for me in the household, growing up without a dad, even though my dad's amazing. I love him to death. He's been in our lives the whole time, but just navigating a house full of women in itself, it's huge. So once I
Mm-hmm.
learned how to do that, it just started overflowing into other parts of my life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm once again getting in touch with my feminine side. It's one of those things
Mm-hmm.
where a lot of people are afraid of that. And it's just a part of you where you're just more secure about sharing your emotions, allowing yourself to speak and communicate what most people won't. Because as a male, once again, the first thing is said, it's like, don't show them that side of you. You never want to show them, you're feeling like, insecure or whatever it is. So we use what, as we say, our ego to mask that and to become more
Mm.
of this person who we think we should be.
Ooh.
So the best way I can say in order to start by getting rid of it is just to allow yourself to sit in who you think you truly are. And there's a lot of people out there, even though I've met a lot of people, I'm sure you have as well, Colleen, where I can read someone out pretty quickly by just going, even though you're putting on this front, that's not really the true person behind that. You're just putting
Mm.
on this front because there's others around you and you want to be this persona, but then yet behind closed doors, you're the most innocent, sweet, or whatever gentleman I've ever met in my entire life. So why can't we just lead with that foot forward without being scared of
Mm.
who we truly are and having to put a like you said, a facade on?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I really think sometimes it's hard for people to understand how to do that. I think that's the piece that you're here to coach them to do. I mean, that is the
Mm-hmm.
purpose of the dating coach, right? Is I'm coming in and I'm saying, "Hey, this is how I see you. This is who I see you as your truth, and this is how you're showing up in the dating world. This is how you're showing up with women. let's really try and get your authentic self out there. And then
Right.
they have your support, they have your advice, they have your guidance so that they can start to make these decisions that are much more aligned. Because I think there's a lot of people that don't really know that the way that they show up in the world is as a mask.
Yes.
They think that's how you're supposed to do life. You're supposed to be this person here and this person here and this person here. And you just get to be yourself when you're alone with yourself,
That's
right?
correct. I mean, we all have a little bit of imposter syndrome, don't we? A little
Yeah,
bit.
we
Yeah.
better, otherwise we're narcissists, right?
That's
Like each and
correct.
every one of us, right?
That's correct. Yeah, for sure. No, but you're absolutely. I mean, and women, whoever the listeners, we all like, once again, it can go both ways. I'm only talking about one
Mm-hmm.
side, but yes, my whole thing is just the fact that I want to teach people in theory on how to find their true authentic self in order to become a better dater, in order to find what they're truly looking for. Once again, we all have our criteria of what we think we may want, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's just not exactly what we're aligned with. So that's why I always say, know your worth and stay in your dating lane. That's one of my favorite things to say.
Ooh,
Everyone's got a dating lane, don't go outside of your lane. But until you truly know who you are, you will never know what that lane is, because you're always going to be searching and looking for something that might not resonate with you.
that is like the name of a perfect quiz that you should do for your funnel. What's your dating lane? And how I help you find it? Like you said that, I'm like, what's my dating lane, Chris? I
Yeah.
want to know. I want to know what my dating lane is. I love that. That language is so powerful too, because it's authenticity is something we all want. Like most of us say, I want to be authentic. I want to be my authentic self. But when it comes down to that moment, that crossroads that you get to where you can go to the right and you can say or do the authentic thing, and it's hard and it's uncomfortable and it doesn't always make people happy, or you go to the left and you adapt or you become a chameleon or you do whatever makes these other people happy.
Right.
And those are the moments that matter, right? We say it
Yeah.
all day long, but when you actually get to the crossroads, you need to make the choice to go one way or the other.
Right. Now, don't get
What?
her wrong. They're both fun people out there. They're both fun to explore and deal with, because you got to play with it, right? To really find out who you
Yes.
truly are. I feel like, there's
Yes.
no right or wrong. I feel like you do need to, like, I call it like skating on both sides of the platform here. So you can teeter as much as you want to, but there's always an edge that we always have to look over and go, yeah, am I really going to go that way? It's just not really who I am. So,
Right.
mhm.
Yes. Oh, I love trial and error. I think it's so amazing I mean, I choose left all the time. I'm like, this is fun. We're going to go in this direction. I just get hit hard with misalignment, right? I get smacked in the face by the universe, and they're like, we tried to show you, but you
Yeah.
didn't listen to all the eagles and foxes and stop signs we sent you in your direction. You just bypassed all of them.
Oh, so
And,
that's what those things are that I see sometimes buzzing around me. Okay, I got to pay attention to
yes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're symbols, right? So, okay, so what are some of the crossroads in your life that you've had that you could have turned left and gone down this inauthentic part of yourself, or you could go right and go down the authentic side? What are some of your crossroads?
Oh man. Well, I can start probably back to college. It's probably where it all started
Mm-hmm.
for me, where I really had this image of who I wanted to be,
Mm-hmm.
growing up wise. So all through high school, and everything, I never dated in high school. I always knew that I had to get a scholarship for school. I was big into
Mm-hmm.
sports, but also I wanted to be around for my mom, because she's raising three of us. So I wanted to be that perfect kid. My older sister was all over
Mm.
the place. My little sister was a complete bitch. So it's one of those things. It was like I had to be the good kid, and I took that responsibility on my own. So but I knew when I left high school that once I got to college, it's going to be about the girls, it's going to be about the fun and all this and that. Now, mind you, this is all in my head, because I didn't need to get a scholarship. My parents had money, but for some reason, I just felt like I wanted to make life easier on everyone. So why be an extra
Mm.
burden? So going off to college now, when I get there, it was this whirlwind of just different lifestyle and learning how to adapt to a new lifestyle that you've never been a part of, but only see in of the image of what you want it to be. Talking about
Mm.
imposter syndrome, I had to fit in quite frankly everywhere. So
Yeah.
that's where I first got the big whiff of it, of learning how to
Mm.
come to that crosswords of certain things. One of them was like, do I need to be this guy where it's just like, Mr. Rico Suave and just try to swoon all the girls? Or am I just going to be, once again, just Chris, who's just, the guy who sits back and just takes it all in and just really nice guy? Well, the
Mm-hmm.
nice guy thing didn't work for me. So that was a big
Yeah.
crossroads for me because I
Mm-hmm.
got shit on the first time. Let's just be honest. I saw this girl, she's amazing, and I wanted to go out with her, and we ended up going out. 2 days later, she didn't remember my name, and it
Oh,
hurt because I was like, but I'm a good guy. Don't you want the good guy?
yes.
And then I realized going, you know what? It's not about the good guy. So I had to learn how to find my balance. And the balance was
Mm-hmm.
just being a little bit of enough of a dick in order to make sure that the good guy in me still kind of got to navigate what he wanted to do. So that
Mm-hmm.
was a huge learning lesson for me as far as like the dating space in itself and who I was as, Christopher Lewis. And I want to be the
Yeah.
good guy, but I still need to make sure that I take charge of these situations because once again, we can all get stepped on, run over. We've all seen it in our lifetimes and just learning how to adapt with that. Um, I think the second phase for me was probably after my modeling days. I did that 15 years traveling the world doing that. It was an amazing career. And I moved to LA. And for the first time in my life, I broke up with my now girlfriend, who we've been together for 6 years. But the first time we dated back in 2001, I think 2002, I broke up with her after about 6 months. And I had
Mm-hmm.
for the first time in my life, this is a huge crossroad for me. I had to go, let her know, I don't want to cheat on you. I
Mm-hmm.
think I might have met someone else and I need to break up with you. Now, in the past, I would have
Mm.
just ghosted, ran away, did whatever. Didn't matter. I just did what I did.
Yeah.
But that was a huge crossroads for me on learning how to communicate what I really wanted from someone who was an amazing soul and not just
Mm.
ghosting them because I was scared and nervous, about just feeling like I didn't want to say I was going to see someone else. So that was a huge crossroad for me as well.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's so, so powerful about that, Christopher, is that that is what created the opening for her to come back into your life now,
Correct. Yeah.
right? Because you handled it with integrity and authenticity, and it gave her the opportunity and you the opportunity to grow a little bit and now come back into each other's lives, which
Most definitely.
I love that.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to the first crossroads here. Um,
Ooh, that's going way back. Oh.
I know, right? Well, you said something, and I wanna like pull it up and magnify it a little bit because I want to make sure we're clear to the audience as they hear
Mm-hmm.
this, right? Something that I think happens in your late teens, early 20s, especially as young men, young women, is we try and navigate and figure out what does it look like to have kindness and compassion and power. And so you use the words like, how can I be the nice guy, but also a little bit of a dick? And so I love that because it is exactly what we want. But I want to clarify what that actually means,
Mm-hmm.
because anybody listening, like I'm sure they really probably felt that in their body when you said that, like, oh yeah, if you're a woman, you're like, I kind of like that, and as a man, you're like, but how do we do it?
Right.
So there's this piece of needing to be kind, compassionate, loving with a healthy boundary. Having boundaries, establishing those boundaries, communicating those boundaries, not being afraid to be a leader, to not be always available. We
Mm-hmm.
call that being a dick, right? But in reality, it's just not being available all the time.
Yeah.
And how somebody goes about doing that, we might give them a definition of being a dick versus if it's like, like I can't hang out on Saturday night, Tracy, because I have a very important meeting I go to every single Saturday
Right.
night. So as much as I want to see you, I can't do it that night. That's having a good, healthy boundary versus Tracy's calling you all day Saturday to hang out and you just ghost her till Monday and you're like, hey girl, what's up? You want to hang? That's being a dick,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. Yes, it is.
so
Yeah.
yeah, right.
I'm
And
gonna go
there,
with the first one you just said, Colleen. I don't think I have the second one in me ever. So maybe once or a few times, but we'll go with your first definition. Much better.
yes. When I like to clarify what that means because I think sometimes people don't know, right?
Right.
If you're looking to date somebody that you want them to have some power, you want them to have some of their own self-assuredness, really we're looking for a man with boundaries. We want him
Mm-hmm.
to have his own life, right? We want to be told no occasionally, not a lot, but we want to be told no occasionally. And then we want the soft, kind heart behind it. Let's be clear though. I don't know if any of y'all that are listening are in your 20s, but when I was in my 20s, I definitely didn't want what was good for me. So I'm pretty sure that most of us dating at that time navigated the world with a very different mindset and one
Yes,
that
we
was
did.
not very healthy, right?
Right.
That was
We were looking through a
trauma.
different lens back then, you know. It's just like, especially for
Yes.
when you feel like, you know, you kind of have it all and there's just so many different options and just so many different
Hmm.
things to do. You know, and plus at the same time, underneath it all, from my upbringing, my mom is like, you know, like, especially growing up with women, I knew how to treat women really well. My mom schooled me very well.
Hmm.
I was very chivalrous at the same time and all these things like that, which I still am to this day. So she set the groundwork who I am today, but just learning how to navigate through that and just different scenarios, like you said. I made sure that I did it in the nicest way possible. And just like you said, making myself a little more unavailable in theory. So, you know, might always not
Yes.
have done it the right way, but that's ultimately correct.
So, and today, Christopher Lewis, today, what are some crossroads you see yourself experiencing, like now, maybe in the near future, where you're at this place where you have to choose the path of authenticity versus the path of least resistance?
Hmm. Um, wow. As I go looking off into the distance, Colleen, I'm like, wow.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
No, that's, you know, that's a good one for me right now. It's just learning how to navigate my new career. Obviously, it's something that I've
Yes.
always been navigating. I've been self-employed my whole life. I've been always done it really well. But when
Mm-hmm.
you add a new endeavor to your life and a new path, that's a crossroad in itself of just learning how to stop and go, am I really going to stick with the new path, or do I need to backtrack and just kind of continue on what I've been doing? And quite frankly, what
Mm.
I've been doing, it's great, but you know, like my calling has always been leaning towards just, you know, the dating space and the coaching and the relationship space. So I'm one of those guys because I've had enough experience of being self-employed
Mm-hmm.
and moving forward and learning how to navigate this space, that the nervousness and the fear, once again, as they say, always drives you to be great at what you want to do. And right now, it's because it's like starting over again in this space and things happening in my life. It's the universe saying that, you know what, it's putting me at a really big crossroads of just like, can you do this? And it's playing with my mind a little
Mm.
bit, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, it's like, you know, I know that it's the right thing, and it's my wit and my passion have never failed me in the past, so it's not going to fail me now. So I will continue to
Yes.
do what I'm doing and move forward. And if anything, it drives me anymore because I don't like feeling like I'm falling. I don't like feeling
Mm.
afraid. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing that pushes me and drives me to say, look, if you feel this way, then you need to make sure you do something about it. I've never been one to sit around and wallow in my pity. I've always been one
Mm-hmm.
to just say, you know what, if you're going to do it and do it well.
Okay. Ooh. Okay, so I hear so many different sides of you come out just in that
Mm-hmm.
one explanation, which is great. It's like you're acknowledging this piece of you that's afraid and does notice the vulnerability of starting a new venture, feeling a little bit like a novice, and that second guessing that happens. It's extremely
Right.
normal, especially even for someone as successful as yourself, right? You have done so many things in your life, and now you're taking off in this new adventure. So I hear like the vulnerability. I'm painting this out for people because I want them to hear, what does it look like when we're standing at the crossroads, and what do we actually need to do when we're there before we make a decision. So first
Mm-hmm.
uh, you named that you're afraid, you named some vulnerability, and you did it without shame-based language. I think is really powerful. Number two, you then recognize past experience and what happened when you were at these places before, and recognizing that you've done this before. You are successful in business. This is something that you can rely on. So you pull from past experience to give yourself present knowledge. And then number three, you reaffirm what the fuck you are about,
Yeah.
right? Like this is, and that, so it's like you're standing at this crossroads and you're not making a decision based on that first gut response. Your first response was, oh, this is scary and a little
Yeah.
crunchy. This is a little hard,
You say crunchy.
right? Crunchy. It's crunchy. You are making a decision based on what your truth is, which your truth is, this is what I want to do. This is what activates me. I'm going to push through whatever pushback I get,
Hmm.
and I'm going to be okay because this is who I am. And that is where we make the decision from, is this place
Okay.
of assuredness. So
So you're saying
I've
I'm good.
you
All right.
you
Thanks,
are
Colleen.
good. Yes. And step 4, get validation from somebody you trust.
Yeah, well, I've done that a
Right?
lot. You being one of them.
Yes.
So, I mean, I
Yes.
know that the audience doesn't know our history, but as little as we have, I mean, I
Hmm.
really have admired and thank you so much for everything you've said and done. So,
Absolutely. I'm excited to see you take on the world. I want you in the dating arena. I want you educating our men and women on what it really means to show up and be your authentic self and in
hmm
connection. I want to know, like, when you think about your special sauce, your special flavor, the thing you're bringing to the coaching world of dating, what is Christopher Lewis offering people that is specific to you?
well, I'm not gonna say this. I'm not even gonna say I hope. I know what's specific to me is the fact that when whoever does come to me and my clients that I want to bring in are people who are willing to do the work in a way that they're willing to
Mm,
get to the root of themselves. And once I can get to
yes.
the root of who they are, without them even knowing, because once we start talking, I usually know after about 10 to 15 minutes on who I'm dealing with and what the issue is because of the clairvoyancy and the that's one of the things I pride myself in, just getting to the roots of thing. And so, but my main thing is teaching people how to come to that conclusion themselves. Like I can see it,
Ooh.
I will ask the right questions and I will help you get there. But ultimately you will learn how to get to that answer by just coming back to full circle and going, oh crap, I understand now. I can show you how to do the work, but I'm not going to do the work for you. And that's one of the things that
Mm.
I pride myself in. So
Ooh, I love it. And
hmm
I think that that's people who want to do the actual work. They want to show up and they want to magnetize a partner that is their actual match, or they're partnered up and they really want to be this healthy, better version of themselves.
hmm
This is exactly it. This is what I think we are missing in the dating world. I want two separate pieces here, Christopher. I want, what advice would you give somebody who is dating right now,
Okay.
haven't found their person? You can take me if you want to make me a little example here, right? What advice would you give that person? And then on the flip side over here, we're going to say person who's in a relationship but they're going through some stuff and they're trying to navigate growing in that relationship.
Yeah.
What would be your piece of advice for single, piece of advice for person in partnership?
Right. Well, for the single person, just I always say go in with eyes wide open, first of all, because
Mm,
we all like I'm going to use it as an example. I know that you're in the dating space right now. It can
yep.
be exciting, it can be scary, and it also, quite frankly, some people just think it's a pain in the ass. Let's just be honest, right?
Yeah.
Because you either have someone who's on the full end of the spectrum going, I just want love and I want it now, and then someone on the opposite end going, I guess I need to date now because I've been by myself for a while. So it's just like, just find out why you're doing what you're doing. Why are you dating? Is it for,
Mm,
because, you're of age now, because your clock is ticking, as far as guys go, because your mom's saying like, I just wish you'd find a nice girl, and something like that. We all have these extraneous things that are from outside sources coming that are actually giving us these sort of, push and pull. But I want
mm,
you to make sure you're doing it for you. Is the timing right? Are you in a good place right now? Are you happy enough in your own singular body at this moment to say, I can now give this to someone else? And that's the easiest way I can say for a single person. Now,
mm.
in a
Okay.
relationship side of things, which I'm in right now, as I've been 6 years in now again. It's that thing for me going, I need to make sure that I'm showing up every day for the person
Mm,
that I'm with. And, we also get stuck in our daily routines. We get stuck in our work. We get stuck in a lot of things, but we need to learn to make time for each other. And these are things that I'm going through right now as well with my partner, where it's just like, we were even talking about on how we need to make sure, like everyone says we'll have a date night, but what does that truly mean? Date night can mean so many things, but for us, it's trying to figure out something that keeps us we have our own, in other words, I guess I'm gonna say we all have our own separate lives, right? In theory, like she's busy, I'm busy, but we need to find something, that a common middle ground that we both want to experience, try, and enjoy together. Like for instance, I play tennis, she's not big in the tennis, she has her thing, I'm not big in her thing, right? So we need to find something
mm-hmm.
that's a good common ground, that we're both like, yes, we're excited for this, we're excited to do it, whether it be
Ooh.
traveling, whether it be as simple as axe throwing, whether it be as simple as just, getting up in the middle of like the living room like we did the night, and I just turn on music, we just start dancing. Something that gives
Oh.
you that connection. And sometimes that little 3 to 4 minutes connecting can last, a
Mm.
person days, because you're
Mm-hmm.
right back in sync with each other. So that's
Oof.
that side of it.
I love both of these. And I wanted you to highlight the two different pieces because obviously my listeners run the gamut, right? Some of them are
Mm-hmm.
single, some of them are in a relationship. Something I find a lot, Christopher, is that the people who are here to grow, that are in relationship, sometimes they struggle to get their spouse, their partner also in a position of growing, right? So
Right.
they're committed, they're listening to this podcast, they're doing the work, but their partner isn't. What would you recommend they do or say in order to activate this person into or
A
inspire
doer.
them to grow?
A doer.
Yes.
Yeah. Um,
Yes.
so something that I've been trying to tell everyone as of recent, this is a great question you asked, is because it's been resonating with a lot of people I've been talking with lately. And it's just the communication in general. If you guys in relationships right now, you have to continuously communicate. And I understand what you're saying, Holly. I'm sorry, Colleen, that someone is always going to be in that moment where they feel like they're leading more than the other. They're doing more of the
Mm,
work than the other, right? And then the other person is just
yes.
kind of just numb, just kind of flatline, right? So I like to say in a relationship that everything has to be ebb and flowing. The one person might be the yin, the other might be the yang. So you always have to
Mm-hmm.
be stepping up at certain times. If you're not feeling that from your other partner, I feel like you need to just basically just let them know. And a lot of people get stuck in a point where they just make excuses for their partner. They just don't, they're just afraid to communicate what they need from their partner. Whereas it could be as simple as just asking a question. And one of the things I always say is the fact that your partner's either going to say yes or no. I mean,
Yeah.
think how simple that is. They're either going to agree
Yeah.
with you or not agree with you. But if you never ask the questions and communicate what you want, you're never going to receive that. And so what happens now? That's just going to fester inside of you. You're just going to get, either really upset with this person. You're going to feel like, I'm doing this all by myself. I'm not getting any help. And whereas if you just ask for what you want, the other partner might snap them out of it just that quickly
Mm,
and be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know I was doing that. Sure. I'd love to be back on this ship with you. I'd love to get back on board with you and join the ride with you again. But you have to be able to have that sense of communication where to get to that point. Like for
mm-hmm.
myself, if my partner, which at the beginning she wasn't the best communicator, but I've made her become better. I've wanted that. I've sought that out from day one, to where she says things now where I'm like holy shit, like where'd this come from? Like, but she goes, well, because you told me to be like this, and I
Yeah.
did. So it's sometimes she has to rattle and shake the apple. I'm the apple out of the tree, and she needs to shake my ass out of the tree sometimes. So, but
Yeah.
it has to happen both ways.
Oh, I agree. I think I think one of the most challenging things I see in relationships or even in the early dating stages is people are afraid to be very direct and very
Hmm.
real with one another. Right? They indirectly ask a question or they avoid it or they try and make an assumption and then when it's too late, they wonder what happened.
Right.
Right?
Hmm.
So I think this like what you're saying here is be direct, communicate what you need. And honestly, maybe you have been direct, maybe you have communicated what you need. So then you have to ask, then the question is within yourself, right? Like what kind of boundaries can I set if this person is not being activated by my language? And
Right.
it's not about
Yeah.
playing
Big
games, but
decisions
it is a
sometimes.
yes, it's a crossroads, right?
Yeah.
It's one of
Right.
those
This
moments where
is
you're like,
I'll be very honest. This is what ended my marriage for 17 years. My ex at the time was asking for a lot, and I was hearing her. I just couldn't, like you
mm-hmm,
said, I couldn't activate myself to respond in the way that she needed me to. So
yeah,
as years went past, or the latter part of it, she finally, because of our communication, said, "I don't want to be married anymore." So we went to
yeah,
therapy for about a year, and then a year later, she goes, "I think I'm done." And one of the things that I want your listeners to know from myself at the time, because once again, goes back to full circle to the beginning of this conversation, is that I have no ego. And so when she literally said, "I think I'm done," the first thing that I did the next time we went to therapy, like this was probably 3 days later when we had our session, I said, I read her
mm-hmm,
this letter. Do you think that you could be loved? Da da da. And she says, "You know what? I think I'm done." So I looked at her and I said, "I'm
mm-hmm,
sorry that I didn't live up to my end of the bargain." And so I looked at the therapist and I
mm,
said, "Now let's talk exit strategy for us." And that's what we did. But I because we're both accountable. It's nothing that
Yeah.
she did wrong. She just needed more from me. I wasn't
Yeah.
in the space to give it. And so I let my ego, I mean, ego, this is what would have created a lot of problems right there, because I would have been hurt so bad I would have lashed out, which most people
Mm.
do in that
Yep.
scenario. But I looked
Yep.
at her and I went, I'm sorry I didn't live up to my end of the bargain. And
Yeah.
to this day, we're great friends, for our kids, or we do holidays together. We do a lot of things together, but it's just what I wanted out of the relationship, because we were together for so long. There needed to not be any animosity, any anger in the whole
Mm.
thing. So,
Yes. And the exit strategy, I think, is something that we should all invest more time and energy into.
hmm
I too am divorced, and my ex and I have a really fabulous relationship because we took care of each other in the exit.
I love
There
that.
there are definitely hard moments. There will be
Yes, they
hard
are.
moments moving forward, but like when you take the time to really care for the other person and care for yourself in the moments where you are dissolving a relationship, it gives you the opportunity to have a different kind of relationship in the future. Just
That's
like
correct.
with your current girlfriend, right? You honored the ending of that relationship in a way that aligned with your integrity. So then later down the line, you had another opportunity to be with her.
Yeah.
You
And
ended your marriage with integrity. Now I'm sure you're really great co-parents, right? Like there's these incredible moments when you actually honor that part.
right, right. And once again, it just stems from just being your true authentic self, knowing who you are, knowing what paths that you've taken in our lives. Because we do change. Like, that's one thing about you were saying earlier about relationships as well that I want to mention is obviously, you can start at point A at the same space, but then eventually you're going to grow apart, but you need to find a way to navigate that time together in a relationship. For daters now,
Mm,
once again, it's just once you just have to be ready to get out there and to put your best
mm-hmm.
foot forward. And quite frankly, one of the things I wanted to say about earlier is just have fun. When you're out there dating, make it
Yes.
fun. Don't make it like you feel like you have to, like it's some sort of like hard line commitment or you have a deadline to follow. Just enjoy the ride, because sometimes you'd be
Mm-hmm.
surprised that you're going to meet a lot of new people doing this. Hopefully, the other
Mm-hmm.
side of what I'm talking about are good people and just not some crazy weirdo or some jerk in general. But for the most part, enjoy the ride, and I hope that your picker's good at that point too, because you can't have
Yes.
clarity unless that happens.
Correct. And okay, so Chris, what I would love to do for our listeners here is you are clearly a gem of incredible knowledge. And I think
Thank
that
you.
there's a lot of people that are listening on my podcast that do navigate this dating world and might really benefit from your services. So how do they find you? And what are you available for right now?
So you can find me at Dating Intelligence and on all social. You can also go to my website. It's dating-intelligence.com. So everything's pretty much on there. You can find all my stuff there. I'm available for everyone right now through Calendly for a 15-minute consultation, free consultation. So just try it out. Just sign up on Calendly. Just 15 minutes. That's all I need with you. And once we get
Yep.
together, hopefully you'll like what I'm doing and you will get you moving forward in your dating space. And if you have any questions, just email me or whatever it is as well. But just go to my website or my socials at Dating Intelligence.
Mm. I I'm excited. I'm excited for you because what I see that you have let burn in order to be who you are today, it's not just the ego, but it's about this idea of that you have to be one person
Mm-hmm.
and do one thing your whole life. Like I see you evolve, I see you grow, I see you expand, I see you step into your truth. And I want you to continue to do that wherever this path leads. I mean,
Thank you.
you you have something to share. You have something that is powerful, and we need help. We need help. Christopher,
Thank you.
please help us.
the
Help us.
the human connection, it doesn't have to be so hard. I just feel
Yeah.
like I've been put in so many different situations, scenarios, and I've come out just happy. And one of the biggest
Yeah.
things that I tell people is the fact that my tagline is like, meet me today, be memorable tomorrow. And that's, I want everyone to
Mm,
think about that, because whomever you meet today, whether you're in the best mood, worst mood, whatever it is, just be kind, just be human. And I promise you, the world would be such a better place if everyone was. It'd be such an easy place if everyone was. So
I agree. I agree. We are going to close on that note because I don't think I could close it any better. Christopher, thank you for joining us. I am so honored to have you on, and I cannot wait to continue to have these conversations. I will put everything in the show notes for you all, but please go check him out and hire him in all of the ways. Give him the 15-minute call, see what happens, see what magic gets sparked. And until next time,
thank you
thank
so
you,
much for having me
Chris.
on your show. This is amazing.
Woo, woo.